You wake up, but someone else is wearing your face. You speak, but the words come from a page you didn't write. You stand, but on a stage built for someone you were never meant to be. You have been living, yes, living, but not for yourself. And that, right there, is the echo of a deeper truth. You don't know who you are because you've lived for others too long. You've spent years playing the role they wrote for you. The dutiful child, the safe partner, the compliant employee, the acceptable friend. But with every yes you whispered when your soul screamed, no, a sliver of you faded away. You chipped away at your own essence in the name of acceptance. Approval became your currency, fitting in became your addiction, and living your own truth became too risky, too unknown, too unloved. So you adapted, you learned the invisible script, you performed, you became a costume of expectations, and it fit so well, you no longer remember the shape of your own skin without it. And today you wake feeling empty, lost, like a house where nobody lives. But this is not the end of your story. It's the moment before you reclaim the pen. There are 5 reasons the real you feels distant, 5 silent thieves pulling you away from the one person you were born to become. 1. The addiction to external validation. You've learned to measure your worth in likes, comments, nods of approval. You've built your identity on applause. With every compliment, you felt alive. But when the crowd went silent, so did you. Your self-worth became dependent on something outside yourself, unreliable, fleeting, insubstantial. When your value is decided by others, you become a puppet. No wonder you don't know who you are. You stop listening to your own applause. 2. The fear of judgment in disguise. As respect, you've shrunk to fit in. You've hidden your quirks, dimmed your edges, removed anything that might set you apart. Why? Because someone told you being safe is better than being seen. But safety without authenticity is a cage. Judgment was never the price of survival. Living half-lived was. The world doesn't need another carbon copy. It needs you. 3. The relentless pursuit of perfection. You chase a version of yourself that's flawless, a career, a relationship, a facade of success that looks perfect from the outside. And in that chase, you forgot the roadmap of your own soul. Perfectionism camouflages fear. It demands everything and gives nothing. You're exhausted, hollow, and you've lost the messy, beautiful person who lives within. 4. The echo chamber of other people's choices. You surround yourself with voices, friends, family, trends, opinions, societal scripts, and without realizing it, you've absorbed their echoes until your own voice becomes a shadow. You no longer know what you want, what you feel, or what matters. You're scanning the horizon for permission. When did your compass stop working? 5. The avoidance of your own truth. Stillness terrifies you. Autonomy scares you. Quiet feels dangerous. So you fill the gaps. Noise, company, achievements, distractions, anything to drown out the reflection of your own life. But silence is not emptiness. It's possibility. The day you stop avoiding yourself is the day self begins its return. The day you harness your own voice, shaped not by demand but by deeper longing. Each of these reasons has built walls around you, but walls were never meant to contain you. They were meant to be dismantled, piece by piece, thought by thought, fearlessly. The world will resist. The voices will shout. The doubts will thunder. But remember, the loudest voice you hear isn't theirs, it's yours. The one asking, who are you when nobody's watching? Let's respond. Be the truth of your own breath. Face the quiet questions. What do I actually want? What belief drives me? What beauty does my soul crave? Reclaim your rhythms. Discipline your presence. Learn to live by your own watch, not someone else's clock. Embrace gratitude, not the empty kind, but the radical appreciation for being alive under your own sky. Adapt when life demands, but never bend your core values. Resilience isn't about enduring what's broken, it's about building what's whole. You lean into learning not what's easy, but what challenges you. Let trial, failure, and curiosity be your teachers. This is how you remember yourself. This is how you learn who you really are. Because when you stop living for others, it begins a life that no longer revolves around approval, a spirit that stands on its own, a presence that quietly commands a room without uttering a word. You become the ripple in the still pond, the echo that has no echo, the star that doesn't need to shine for anyone. And in that reclamation, every part of you that once disappeared returns, whole, raw, unbreakable. This is not just a return, it's a revolution. And now, as your own voice rises, the world will know. You are not who they told you to be. You are not what they expected. You are not a reflection of their needs. You are you. And that truth is your power. Not borrowed, not performed, not approved, just yours. And with each breath, each choice, each rediscovery of your own rhythm, you build a life that finally feels like home. Welcome back to yourself. And when you come home to yourself, truly home, not the borrowed identity, not the hollow mimicry of who the world applauded, but the raw, real, unmasked essence of your soul, something miraculous begins to happen. The chaos outside loses its power. The comparisons fade into irrelevance. The need to be understood shrinks. And in its place rises something deeper than happiness, wholeness. You stop trying to belong in places that were never built for your truth. You stop craving the gaze of those who can't see beyond their own filters. You stop adjusting your volume for the comfort of others. You stop shrinking just to fit inside a frame that was always too small for you. Because now you remember you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand unapologetically, unrepeatably, unshakably. You were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be real. Not to entertain, not to perform, but to live as an embodied declaration of what it means to rise, not as a product of others' design, but as the creation of your own becoming. And as this truth expands within you, the false identities begin to fall away, not in dramatic explosions, but like leaves from a tree in autumn, quietly, naturally, inevitably. Because the soul does not hold on to what no longer serves it once it remembers what it truly is. Let the mask fall, let the armor rust, let the layers peel away. There is nothing more dangerous to a world built on conformity than a person who knows who they are. When you know who you are, no rejection can shake you. No applause can inflate you. No silence can unsettle you. Because your validation is no longer on lease. It is owned, rooted deep within the architecture of your spirit. And from this space, you no longer speak to be heard, you speak to resonate. You no longer act to be accepted, you act from inner alignment. You no longer exist to fill others' expectations, you exist to fulfill your own truth. This is not arrogance, this is not rebellion, this is the sacred return to sovereignty. This is remembering that you are the authority of your own life. You will still love others, but you will no longer betray yourself to be loved. You will still serve others, but you will no longer abandon your voice to be accepted. You will still walk with others, but you will no longer dim your light to make them comfortable in their shadows. And there will be grief. Grief for the years you gave away. Grief for the masks you wore. Grief for the version of you that forgot your name. But that grief is sacred. It is the evidence that you've begun to feel again, to wake again, to live again. Let it move through you. Let it baptize you. Let it remind you of your humanness, not as weakness, but as miracle. And when you rise, not perfectly, but honestly, you will feel a quiet thunder in your chest. The sound of your truth returned. The sound of your life unmuted. The sound of your soul no longer surviving, but sovereign. And the world, it will adjust, or it won't, but it no longer matters. Because you're no longer here to fit in. You're here to become. And that is everything. You've arrived. Put down the script you were living for others. Silence the expectations that grew louder than your own heartbeat. The world around you may still chase echoes, the applause, the scroll, the mask, but you no longer need to answer. Your breath is enough. Your presence is enough. Your truth is enough. In the quiet return to who you really are, you will feel the ground beneath your feet again, the whisper of your heartbeat in your own body, the confidence that comes not from proving yourself, but from being yourself. This is not a performance. It's not a role you've been taught to play. It's the uncut, unscripted, unrepeatable performance of your own life. That's the gift of waking up to your own story, not the one handed to you by others, but the one you hold in your own hands. So speak your truth with clarity. Live your rhythm with conviction. Walk forward with the knowledge that you are not just living, but becoming. And as you step into that becoming, remember, this is your life. This is your story. And you unfiltered, unbroken, unapologetically yourself are the hero. There will be moments when the old world tries to call you back. Moments where the old masks feel easier. Moments where the old roles whisper, just one more time. But you will remember the weight you carried when you lived for everyone else. You will remember the emptiness behind the applause. You will remember the ache of being surrounded yet unseen. And you will choose differently, not out of rebellion, not out of anger, but out of reverence for the self you fought so hard to reclaim. You will walk into rooms and no longer shrink. You will speak and no longer soften your truth to keep others comfortable. You will exist fiercely, freely, without needing to explain why. And some will not understand. Let them. They were never meant to hold the depth of your becoming. This path you're on, it's not for the faint of heart. It is not easy to unlearn a life of obedience. It is not easy to dismantle a self built on survival. But what you will build in its place will be real. It will carry the scars of every yes you should have never given. It will carry the wisdom of every time you betrayed your soul to belong. But more than anything, it will carry you. And from this new ground, you will finally see you were never too much. You were never wrong. You were never broken. You were simply buried under layers of expectation, approval, silence. But now you've remembered, and there's no going back. There's only forward, fully awake, fully you, fully alive. The world doesn't need a more obedient version of you. It doesn't need a quieter, smaller, safer shape of your soul. It needs you, whole, undiluted, on fire with your own truth. You've done the time in the shadows. You've worn the mask. You've played the part. Now it's time to write your own lines. Now it's time to stop auditioning for a life that was never yours to begin with. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to take up space, to disturb the noise, to reawaken the sacred in a world that has forgotten how to feel. Let them misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Because what you lose in approval, you gain in sovereignty. And that trade is worth everything. So when the night gets quiet and the doubt returns, sit with it. Feel it, but do not retreat. Because that discomfort, it's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof that you're shedding what never belonged. This journey, this sacred reclamation of self is not about arrival. It's about alignment. Moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. And with every moment you choose you, the noise grows quieter. The fear loses its grip. And the world, it finally meets the real you, not the edited version, not the filtered mask, but the wild, wise, grounded soul who is never lost, only hidden. So walk forward now, not to prove, not to convince, but simply to live as you, only you, always you. And when you finally meet your reflection, not the one in the mirror, but the one that lives beneath your skin, you will see the scars, the cracks, the weathered parts of your spirit. And you will not turn away. You will not flinch, because those fractures tell your real story. The one you earned, the one you bled for, the one you reclaimed, inch by inch, from the hands of a world that tried to mold you into silence. You realize that your power never came from perfection. It came from your refusal to stay hidden, from the moment you decided that your life was yours, not to be managed, not to be tolerated, but to be lived out loud, in full color, without apology. There will be days where you wobble, where you fall back into old echoes. But that doesn't mean you failed. It means you're still choosing. And that choice to return to yourself again and again and again, that is your revolution. Because identity is not a destination, it's a practice, a remembering, a devotion to what lives underneath the noise. And the deeper you go, the less you seek. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing judgment. You stop living your life as a performance for an audience that was never meant to hold your truth. And in that quiet, fierce space you rise, not with a roar, but with presence, not with fire, but with flame, constant, indéniable, unmistakably you. So let this be your sacred vow. No more hiding, no more shrinking, no more waiting for permission. From this moment forward, you live as you were meant to live, as you were always meant to be, unbound, unmasked, home. And when you live like that, unmasked, undivided, unapologetically rooted in your own truth, you no longer just survive. You ignite. You become the permission others didn't know they needed. You become the mirror that reflects what courage looks like without noise. You become the flame in a cold world starved of authenticity, not because you're trying to lead, not because you seek to inspire, but because your existence as it is becomes undeniable proof that it's possible to live without performing. You begin to walk through life with a quiet power, not the kind that shouts, not the kind that demands, but the kind that simply is, rooted, certain, whole. The world will still try to tempt you back into the performance, to polish your edges, to sell your truth for comfort, applause, or belonging. But you'll know better now. You've tasted the stillness of your own soul. You've heard the sound of your own voice rise above the noise. You've stood alone and found that aloneness is not emptiness, but clarity. So let others play their roles. Let them run their endless loops of expectation. You have remembered, you are not here to be understood by all. You are here to understand yourself, to belong fiercely to your own becoming, to love yourself without needing to be liked. And from this place, from this wild, unwavering devotion to your truth, you are no longer a product of what happened to you. You are no longer shaped by who others said you had to be. You are free. And that freedom, it is the beginning of everything. Because when you live from that freedom true, inner, unapologetic freedom, life no longer feels like something to escape from. It becomes something sacred, something intimate, something real. The air tastes different. The silence feels alive. The moments, even the smallest ones, hum with a kind of electricity that only presence can touch. And suddenly, the things you once begged for, attention, validation, acceptance, lose their weight. Not because you no longer want to be seen, but because you finally see yourself clearly, completely, without the filters, without the masks, without the echo of anyone else's voice in your head, but your own. That is peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the absence of self-abandonment. You begin to live with rhythm, not on society's timeline, not on someone else's checklist of success, but on the cadence of your own truth. You stop rushing, you stop proving, you begin to trust the divine pace of your own becoming. And the world, the real world, not the digital illusion, begins to meet you differently. People feel your presence before you speak. They notice the weight in your eyes, the calm in your silence. Because someone who's remembered who they are doesn't need to announce it. You move like a mountain. You burn like a slow fire. You carry the kind of gravity that cannot be copied, only earned. And in the rare moments when the old world comes knocking, when the mask whispers its familiar seduction, you will smile gently and say, "Not today," because you have outgrown the skin that never fit. You have buried the version of you that was built for them, and you have returned not as a concept, not as an idea, but as a force. So walk into the unknown. Walk into your full expression. Walk with the certainty of someone who has reclaimed their life cell by cell, breath by breath. You are no longer surviving someone else's story. You are finally gloriously writing your own. And now you stand at the edge of everything you once feared, and you do not tremble, because what lives in you now is not borrowed. It is not designed by others. It is not conditional. It is truth, raw, unshakable, untamed. You are not here to be perfect. You are not here to please. You are not here to play small in a world that fears its own power. You are here to remember and to become, no longer chained to the gaze of the crowd, no longer diluted to fit into molds that broke you, no longer whispering your truth to avoid unsettling the fragile. Eurydice, not because they allowed it, but because you decided this life, this breath, this moment is yours. So take it, not softly, not carefully, but fully. And when they ask who you are now, you won't explain. You'll just be unapologetic, unmasked, unbreakable. You